Hello, career thought leaders. Good to see you here today. Happy 2021. Hope your year is off to a good start. And we are going to kick it off with thinking about a gift that we could give to ourselves and to our clients in terms of confidence. So here's the thing, is that when we think about what we want to do for this year, a lot of times we think about the obstacles that get in the way that are more concrete. So I need to learn this, or I need to do that, or I need to get a new system to make this happen. And sometimes those are real things that we need, but sometimes those are things that we create because really we lack confidence to achieve what we want to achieve. So let me tell you sometimes what happens in my mind, and maybe it happens to you as well, is that we think, oh, I'll do that when I have X, Y, or Z. Or before I can make that happen, I need to do this, that, and this. And it becomes this kind of process of giving ourselves extra hurdles to jump over so that we don't actually have to do this thing that we know we should do and we really want to do, but we don't do it for whatever reason. So if that's you and that happens to you sometimes, what would it be like this year to not have that happen as often? So one of my big topics for this year is thinking about our recovery time, because we're going to make mistakes and we're going to do even this thing that we're going to talk about today. We're going to do that to ourselves. But the faster that we can recognize what's going on and course correct, the better we'll be, right? The less time we'll spend spinning because we can't think of exactly what we'd like to do or what we'd like to say, or we're not feeling quite confident. So today I want to talk about some of the ways that we can redirect faster to act more confidently. Just wanted to start by sharing some of those things that we hear about confidence, right? Fake it until you make it, or maybe feel the fear and do it anyways. And I wondered if you all had any of those cliches, sayings, inspirational quotes that you like when it comes to confidence. So are you a fake it until you make it person? Do you like it when people say feel the fear and do it anyways? What other sayings am I missing that you might want to share? And if you're watching this later, feel free to put yours in and hit and just let us know that you're watching the replay. And I'd love to hear what you think. What do you think of when you think of confidence? What are your favorite sayings, or what are some cliches that come to mind? I've never been a real fake it until you make it person because I just didn't feel like that worked for me. I can't fake it. But what I do like, and I posted this today on LinkedIn, is that I did realize a few years ago, and it really helped me to realize that happiness is a choice, right? We decide if we want to be happy or not. That bad things happen and we react to those, and those reactions are appropriate and necessary. But when it comes right down to it, we get to decide, are we going to be happy or not? And confidence is the same way. So I think the most vivid example of this is someone walking on the beach and you think, why, how are they wearing that? Or maybe not wearing that. How are they so confident when I feel not confident even though I'm wearing more clothes or whatever it might be? And it's because they're not waiting for someone to tell them that they deserve to be confident in their tiny little swimsuit, right? They just own it. They own it, and they do. And what we love about that, if we really let our guard down, is that confidence, we don't have to wait for someone else to give it to us. And we don't necessarily have to earn it. So you won't necessarily be more confident because you go and learn something, right? You might be, but it's a choice. It's something that we decide, hey, I'm going to feel confident today. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to move forward today with confidence. So how could we help our clients do some of the same? And I want to share a few tidbits here with you quickly, but we also have an event coming up with Marietta Gentles Crawford, who's going to share some of her thoughts. And we're going to tie this into personal branding, because one of the ways that we feel confident is really knowing who we are and owning who we are, and understanding how who we are connects value to everything that we do. And that's that underlying piece of personal branding. So I'm going to give you a few tips today, and then Marietta and I are going to be sharing a few more in this event next week. Also coming up next week is this free event that a local photographer slash life coach is putting on, where she's talking about confidence, and she interviewed me, and my interview is going to be live on this event starting on the 10th. And this is my story around confidence, because I believe that confidence is a choice, but it's also a journey. And what I've seen with a lot of you who've participated in our classes is that you've kind of seen that journey as well, that once you start to kind of own who you are and what you do, it grows. And you think, oh, this, like, nobody responded negatively because I shared my mind, my voice. And so I keep doing it more, and I gain more and more confidence. And I love this, Kathleen. Confidence comes from not always being right, but not fearing being wrong. Yeah, oh, that's good. And this is the difference between confidence and arrogance too, right? When you are confident, it doesn't mean that you can't be humble. So humility says, I'm going to go and do more, learn more, be more. I know I don't know everything, but that doesn't mean I lack confidence. And arrogance is often that I don't really feel confident, but I'm going to act like it. And that comes across as arrogance. So those two things could be put together in a few different ways, but I like to think of confidence and humility going together, because otherwise, if we're trying to be confident, trying to pretend we know everything, it often comes off as arrogance, and it doesn't really work. So Linda, yeah, she believed she could, so she did. And that is the problem with us achieving a lot of our goals, is that we can't achieve a goal if we don't believe we can do it, or don't believe we deserve it. And so I've got a few coaching questions to think about that. So let's move into some of these ways that we can move forward even when we're not feeling confident. The first way is to think about how we might break it down. What's that first step look like? What could I do? What makes sense for me to do first? And so if I'm not feeling confident, thinking about what could I do? What's one little step that I could take and move forward even though I'm not feeling confident? Meditation helps you befriend your own mind. Choose confidence in any other way of being. Thanks for sharing that, Paul. That's great. That mindfulness, whether we do it in meditation or journaling or whatever other way we might experience that mindfulness for ourselves. So here are some other coaching questions that I would share. And oftentimes when we're afraid to do something or not feeling confident, there might be a sense of that this might happen. So sometimes that this might happen is bad. So what's the worst that could happen? Sometimes the this might happen is good, and we're actually afraid of that success, right? And maybe even if we're in a coaching business, we might think, oh, I'll get so much business, I don't know what to do. And so I'm not going to do anything. So what's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen, or what would I love to happen? And what might I be afraid of in either of those scenarios? What scares me about either of those scenarios? The worst that could happen, or the thing that I would love to happen? Oftentimes, even there's a fear that goes along with that thing that I would love to happen. So what's the worst that could happen? What would I love to happen? And what scares me about that? What would I do if I felt confident? So channeling my Susan Britton, that sounds like a question she would ask. What would I do if I felt confident? So if your client's struggling and they're not networking, what would they do if they felt confident? What would they do if they couldn't fail? Some of those questions that might get them thinking about what is getting in the way. What about this doesn't feel right? So sometimes we can think our spinning is intuition. And we've got to check that, right? Is it intuition, or is it lack of confidence or something else that's keeping us from doing what we want to do? So what is getting in the way? What doesn't feel right about that we might check in with before we decide we're going to act? And then what made me want to do it in the beginning? So if you've got a goal set and then you find yourself not doing it, sometimes reconnecting with that motivation behind it. Why did you want to do that? What about that is going to be helpful for you? What are the end results? And then maybe is there another way that you could get those same results if this action isn't feeling right anymore? And those questions can help us move forward. So any other coaching questions that you all would share that you use with clients when they're not feeling confident, or with yourself? when you find that you're not doing that thing that maybe you said you want to do. And this is all circling back to the fact that we're probably working with clients and maybe us ourselves right now, making some goals for this year. And we realize that we will mess up, we will falter, we'll spin. And how can we get ourselves out of that spin faster to keep moving forward? Asking ourselves some of these coaching questions, or maybe partnering with a colleague who can help keep us accountable by thinking through what's going on here. And for me, a lot of times it's that I can't do this until, and well, what's the worst that would happen if I do it anyways? Or who could help me do those things that I feel like need to get done before I do that? And really exploring that, because otherwise I can use that as an opportunity to not do something that I'm not feeling confident about. So I hope you'll join Marietta and I next week and or tune in to this confidence event that's going on next week, and join that event. There's a lot of coaches joining that event to talk about confidence in different ways. And we're going to be back here next week at this time. We have our white paper release. So if you haven't RSVP'd for that yet, I'll find the link here and drop it in the chat for that white paper release, our trends that were just discussed in the last part of last year, and look forward to discussing anything that you might want to learn about as we move forward. I will share here, so I put together just a quick survey about the live. So if you are if you've been joining us live and you have some suggestions for other things that we might put in to the lineup, please share. So that's just a little quick survey monkey, some other topics that we can cover to be helpful. How long would you like to see these lives be, etc. So feel free to share and any of that you might have feedback on. And we surround ourselves with invisible electric fences of our own creation. I like that. Yes, and our minds in achieving what we want to achieve. Oftentimes it's not necessarily the tactical, but the mindset issues that get in our way. So thank you for sharing that, Paul. All right, well, I will look forward to seeing you next week. And I hope that you'll join us and tell us more about what you want to learn. And if you haven't RSVP'd for the white paper, do that as well. And we'll see you next week.